Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's edition of Viewpoint. Whenever it is 6:30 on DBS television, we know that you are out there, for it is time for us to discuss issues affecting Cameroon. And in today's edition of the program, we have two gentlemen with us in the studio to talk political issues affecting Cameroon, issues that affect you and I. That is why in today's edition of the program, we'll be talking about Cameroon Parliament. With us in the studio, we have Professor Akumbom, who is not a new man, but for a while he has been away from Viewpoint. Good evening, Professor, and thank you for being there.
Thank you, Vinicius, for this opportunity. And to my fellow panelists, Stanford Jones, you're welcome. And to the million viewers of DBS, we say good evening to you. And we believe that whatever we'll be discussing will be purely to educate.
Purely to educate, Professor. He's being accompanied by a journalist, Stanford Jones. Good evening, brother, and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Good evening, Mr. Mange. Good evening, Professor Akumbom. It's a pleasure to meet you again on a panel. It's been a while. We hope that what we discuss here today will go a long way to educate, as a professor said earlier. And the things of Parliament are things that concern all of us as Cameroonians. So we believe all what we'll be saying here will be to educate the millions of viewers who are out there watching and listening to us.
Things that concern the Parliament concerns us, and that is why we are looking at how represented we are in that national house. Let us take the first part of the program. We take question 1, talking about the elections of presidents in Parliament, that is the National Assembly and the Senate. I begin with you, Professor. Are our representatives representing us?
That question is really funny.
Yes.
But I will say they are not representing us.
He says, no, they do not represent us. Tamfo, do they represent us?
No.
Tamfo thinks as well that they do not represent us. We take the second question. Is there any impact of this election, the election of the president of the National Assembly and the Senate, to the country's development, Tamfo?
Yes.
He says there is an impact. Prof?
Yes, there is an impact.
There is an impact. We will be getting this impact in the second part of the program. After 1 week, after the opening of the 2021 legislative year in Cameroon, MPs gathered at the plenary session in which they elected the House Speaker, and very Honorable Kawayege Jibril was elected. He was the lone candidate, unopposed, given the strength of the ruling party. He was elected with over 147 votes that were cast. There were 15 null ballots out of the 162 MPs that voted. It was the same scenario at the upper chamber, where Masenyat Ndifenji was also elected president of the Senate. And we must indicate that Masenyat Ndifenji has been there since the beginning or the creation of the Senate in Cameroon, since 2013. Masenyat Ndifenji got 85 votes out of the 93 votes that were cast, and there were 8 null ballots. That was what we gathered from the election of the presidents in Cameroon's parliament. And we're asking our panelists who are here with us, are these representatives representing us in the National Assembly, in the Senate, or are they there for themselves? Prof, you think that no, they do not represent us?
Yes, they do not represent us, and reasons behind that. First of all, you must understand that the House of Parliament is a place where we elect individuals to go actually make laws that will be in favor of the people. And secondly, the reason why we send these parliamentarians to sit in that house is because we expect them to use the house as a means to actually make sure that the investigate, or let's say, because they are supposed to, one of their duties is to question the policies of the government, and as well as to be able to represent the Cameroon as a whole.
Yes.
So those two main duties of a parliamentarian are the things that we expected to see to those whom we call parliamentarians. When we elect parliamentarians, which to an extent in a region like in the northwest and southwest, we practically knew there was no election, but we have individuals who say that they were elected to represent the people nationally. But when they went in there, the war has been going on since 2016.
Yes.
That the crisis started and delved into a war in, I think, 2017.
Yes.
Till now, nothing has been said about it in that house. You do not expect me to come and sit on DBS and claim that such individuals are representing Cameroonians. There is serious trouble in the north. There is serious trouble in the east.
Yes.
Cameroon is practically under fire. We have parliamentarians who are doing practically nothing to solve any of this. They keep on working in favor of the regime in power, because we know that majority of those sitting in that house are of the CPDM.
Of course.
And being of the CPDM, we know that our constitution, which is supposed to be the Bible which every parliamentarian uses, is practically being defied by them, in sense that they are called to be representatives of the nation, not of a region, not of a particular district or particular constituency.
They are MPs for the nation.
For the nation, not for a constituency. They practically are working for their party and not for the nation. Party discipline to the members of parliament of the CPDM is more important than patriotism for the nation. The love for nation has actually disappeared. And most of these guys, they are in politics not because they want to help the Cameroon people. They are in politics because they want to feed their stomachs. I will remind you that the Constitution of Cameroon actually presents Cameroon as in fact, there is a doctrine in the Constitution of Cameroon which we see there, that doctrine of popularity sovereignty. Doctrine of popularity sovereignty actually implies that the people get their power, the representatives get their power from the people. And so they should be representing the people and they should be responsible to them as well as accountable to the people.
Yes.
But that is not the case in Cameroon, because we see it written in the constitution, but it is not what is, because the presidential power seems to overshadow everything.
Prof, I'm not cutting you short,
yes,
but so that our discussion should be, our viewers could also follow what we are discussing here.
Yes.
At the opening of the session, the eldest member of the National Assembly, Madame Fcfa, indicated that they would be their concern. They would want to control government action and decry the killings that is going on in the northwest and southwest region. Is it not like bringing this crisis into the parliament?
Okay, I am sure that was her position, but
yes,
those were not the standing orders of the House.
Okay. Because
she has no authority to determine the standing orders of the House. She was just the eldest person actually sitting,
leading the deliberations before the election of
the president.
Yes.
Which to me, she had no power to come up with what will be discussed in the House, because what will be discussed in the House comes from the government and from individual MPs,
yes,
which actually must go through the Speaker of the House,
yes,
and it must go through the Chairman Conference for it to be accepted.
Yes.
Okay, but those things are not there. She could not do that. So we cannot claim that because she mentioned issues that she thinks that are burning in Cameroon, was a means of saying that, okay, we are going to be discussing on this. No.
Professor, like you rightly said, each parliamentarian has the duty, has the right, to table in a motion, to table in, a bill
yes,
that could be debated in the National Assembly. We have MPs from the northwest and southwest regions, like you said. We have MPs from the north. We have MPs from the east. These are crisis hotspots in Cameroon.
Yeah.
What are these MPs doing?
That's just to indicate to you that they are not representatives. They are not representatives of the people.
Yes.
They are representing their party and their stomach. Because if they were actually representing the people, the crisis should be their focus. Most of them are coming from crisis hit areas.
Yes.
Where I think that even if you are of the ruling party,
Yes, or of the opposition.
no, even if you are of the ruling party, because I believe that the opposition has done its best to actually raise that issue.
Yes, so
But
many
it
times
has been
and
denied
failed.
in the House.
Yes.
By the ruling party parliamentarian. Okay, even if you are of that ruling party and you feel like it is not concerning you, why not think of those who are in the village where you are coming from the areas where you come from?
Because the crisis does not know any
It does
party
not
out there.
know a party.
People are being displaced, whether you are opposition or
So,
they are displaced.
Those are some of the things that Cameroonians should be able to answer that question simply. These people do not represent us. Ask young Cameroonians who are the parliamentarians of your
Of their
area. They will
constituency.
tell you they don't know.
Okay.
Because those people have no importance to the community from which they come from.
They only see
If
them
there
during
is-
campaign period.
For example, if people want to talk, for example, in Camer, everybody in Cameroon knows that there is a representative in Camer called
Mr.
Gerard.
Yes.
Why? Because he is active,
Constantly with his
relating
people.
with his people.
Exactly.
Such is the way we expect that parliamentarians should act. Not that you just disappear, but the fact that he's representing, went back to relate with his people, that's not his duty. It's not his job to go do projects around. That's not his job. His job is, he has two jobs: question and control the government actions.
Yes.
And secondly, to make laws. Those are his two duties. So the rest, whatever he's doing, is just a way to keep connection. There is also the Noran from PCRN.
Yes.
She too is struggling to
Vuri
connect
East.
with her people.
Yes.
But she is not connecting with the people of Wari East. She's connecting with her village people in Fumban. That's already to make you understand something. She's not working for the people.
Okay.
She's struggling to be there for her village, which is wrong.
All
So
right.
we need people to get to a place where they start thinking of Cameroonians as the people they are representing.
They start thinking large, big, not thinking streamlined kind
Village,
of tunnel way of
nepotism,
thinking.
tribalism, and all that.
Okay, Prof, let's take the views of Tamfu Jones, who is of the opinion, like you, that these MPs don't represent us. Tamfu?
Yes, I think so, because as Professor Akumbo highlighted earlier, he have said it all. It's vividly clear that the people are not representative of their populations, because if they were representative, I don't think that our country will be going through what they're going through today. Because when you look critically, you realize that Cameroon has very good policies and laws which are not being put into practice. If these guys are supposed to be at the level of the National Assembly to question these laws and government actions, and then to put laws into place, which there are already good laws into place, and question government action. Government actions is now, what is government doing to see into it that these laws are being implemented the way they are put into place?
Exactly.
Government fails at that level, and the MPs are there. They are unable to question government failure on the implementation of the law. So you see now that they are there doing nothing. Because when you look critically at a given point in time, you are tempted to think that the National Assembly is useless. Because if we have hot issues like those we have in Cameroon, in the northwest and the southwest, we have in the east, we have in the north, and none of them is discussed at the level of the National Assembly, then what do they go there to discuss? Because you see the U.S. Congress spoke about it some weeks ago, and that it is until then, since from 2016, that we understood that those at the National Assembly knew that there was something going on in the northwest and the southwest, because after the outing of the congressmen, the guys took their pens and were signing petitions, signing against. So they knew that there was something going in that they could defend. So they instead fight a stranger who sits and says that your house is rotten, instead of looking for solutions.
Mr. Tamfu, please, want to find out what could be the motivating factor, because behind this insensitivity of our MPs? What is the... Is it that they've already cut connections, like Professor was saying, with their grassroots?
No, it's barely politics.
Okay.
You see somebody goes into politics because he's broke.
Mm-hmm.
He has no cash. Because Prof made mention of Ngalaje, right?
Mm-hmm.
That somebody who goes into politics, his pockets are already filled.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not hungry.
Correct.
So, but when you go into politics hungry, you see things become difficult. All you fight is to make sure your pockets are filled. And these guys, at the level of the parliament, you realize that if you may be kicking too much against the government, maybe some bonuses may not be reaching you. Mm-hmm. Or the next session, or you will not be there. Mm-hmm. And then now we have the majority who are from the ruling party. Mm-hmm. Now, they cannot go beyond the party line. They work below the party line,
yes,
under the party.
Yes.
So it makes it difficult for them to take their personal decisions.
Yes.
Or question government action. Because if you are questioning government action, it means that you are questioning the actions of the party.
Mm-hmm. Which is tantamount to treason.
Which is tantamount to treason.
Yes.
Because they call it that. When you do that, they will say that you are not patriotic. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, that's the real patriotism. Because they are there representing the people, given that not all Cameroonians can be talking to the government at the same time.
Okay. Mr. Tafu, I will come back to you. I wanted to get it from Professor before we take the impact of this election to the development of our country. Professor, I want to find out from you, after the election of Kamer Jibril, in his address to MPs, instead of applauding those MPs who gave him the vote to become the Speaker of the National Assembly, he thanked the head of state. And the word we were asking was, has the head of state of Cameroon become a member of parliament? Yes, because...
you see, that is the problem.
Yes.
He knows very well that he is not being elected. Mm-hmm. He's been appointed. Mm-hmm. I feel a little bit so disturbed with this issue. Everybody is thanking the head of state. Mm-hmm. I don't know if to them they feel like the head of state has become a magical word to use in Cameroon.
A password.
A password.
Yes.
You see, you were elected by a group of persons.
Yes.
You did not channel your thanks to them.
Yes.
You turned to the head of state.
For
why?
Giving you another opportunity.
Because he knew if they were those parliamentarians were not told, you have to vote for him.
And we have to indicate here that before the elections, the CPDM had a meeting before.
I wanted to bring that in.
Yes.
Because the previous day to the elections, they had the executives of the CPDM. They held
Central Committee.
The Central Committee held a meeting
for the Senate.
For the Senate and for the
parliamentarians. Yes.
Now, this is clear proof that they went there to tell them that, look, as people are going in, this is the man who is going to stand.
Good.
And he's the person to take the position. So nobody contest, or you don't have the right to place a candidature against these people because the little numbers that that's no vote were null.
Because we have about 15 null ballots.
Null ballots.
Yes.
It means that there's no vote anybody else, means that those candidates were lone candidates.
That's the issue.
Those are the instructions that left from those meetings.
Okay.
That as you are going tomorrow, we have one candidate, a natural candidate.
Sure. Of course.
That's the issue that, as I wanted to say, that we have in Cameroon. You can't claim that we are having should I say we are having the three arms
of government.
Yes. Where you have
the executive, legislative,
and the judiciary.
Yes.
And the truth is that each of them is supposed to be independent.
Yes.
And existing to balance power.
Checks
and balances.
Yes.
The legislative.
You see, but it is shocking how the Speaker of the House give thanks to the executive head. Mm-hmm. That is to make you already understand that there is collision. And as long as there's collision, such a person would have been sacked immediately. In fact, he would have been removed. In fact,
or resigned.
There would have been what we call a vote of
no confidence.
Non-confidence.
Yes.
Because he is unqualified to sit in the House to make sure that the actions of the government are actually put in order. And so, you see, it is dangerous. In Cameroon, the constitution is clear. It is true that it is a presidentialist system
yes,
where the president has more say. Mm-hmm. But the constitution makes it plain that these parliamentarians are elected by the people, not by the government, not by the executive.
Yes.
They are not appointed, so he has no reason to thank the head of state.
But Prof, could it not be another way that he is thanking Paul Biya as the president of the national president of the CPDM party?
That would have been what he would have said.
Yes.
That I want to thank my fellow parliamentarians for electing me as the Speaker of the House.
Yes.
And above all, I want to thank the national president of the CPDM for having given confidence in me.
Yes.
That is okay when we understand. But when you say, I want to thank the head of state, he is head of state of Cameroon, not the head of CPDM party.
All right, Prof, for want of time, let us take the second question, which we are trying to find out. Such act like we have in the National Assembly and the Senate as well, we are trying to find out the impact of such act, and you say that there are impact. We want to get out from you, are this impact positive or negative?
The impact can never be positive.
Okay.
My reason for saying it can never be positive is because when you elect a person who is beyond 80 to serve a nation that is over 70% youthful, what are you doing? Indirectly, you want that nation to die. Indirectly, you do not want that nation to progress. At the age 80, you are already in your third age, which means that's the time to rest. That is why in every nation you have term limit or maybe age limit to be involved in civil service.
Yes.
There is a particular age limit when you attain. You start thinking on how to get to retire, to rest. But we have people who have been in power, in leadership, in government for more than 50 to 60 years. And they are still being, I'm talking of 50 for more than 60 years. Some have been for 50 something years. They are still being voted to sit in the house. Question, such persons, what would they bring? Negativity. You see, the way Cameroon is sinking today, because a lot of people, I heard the president actually announce that we had an increase in the economy, 4% or something like that.
Yes, about.
I don't know if that increase was just around the presidency or it is something that is happening around Cameroon as a whole. I'm saying this because in the whole of Cameroon, we can all identify that there is a fall. French people say there's a shoot.
Yes.
A shoot.
Yes.
Why?
A fall in economic activities.
There's a fall in economic activities. Prices of things have increased, but there is no money. What will you call that? Economic increase?
Not at all.
So, our people are basically suffering. Why? Because we are led by old men. People who do not have any power to reason.
Prof, in Africa, we say that these old people are referred to as, libraries. They are stock. Because in Africa, we refer to them as wisdom. They
use a word.
Wisdom.
You said library. A library is meant for research.
Reference. Yes, you go there.
Not for active. If they have to be libraries, they need to go and sit behind.
And we come
consult. A library does not lead the place. It is a place where people come to consult.
Yes.
So stay at home. When we need you, we'll come for you. Give us directives on this. They can become counselors.
Of course.
Not that you stay there when you have nothing to add. We are in an industrialized age where technology has advanced beyond their time. Most of them do not even understand what we do now. But you know what? They want to stay there and keep the place in one position. So our nation is practically digressing.
Okay.
If you go back to look at the Cameroons in the 70s, 80s, the moment we entered the 90s, devaluation entered Cameroon.
Yes.
From that time till now, Cameroon has been going backward, not going forward.
Yes.
If you look at it, it is simply because the people who are leading this particular nation do not have the knowledge to be able to advance and to catch up with the times.
Yes.
And so, instead of bringing in the young brains who are actually educated to fit in the times. They stay there, block the young ones from coming. What will you tell me? That there's recycling of people? Because that one, I call it recycling, where you remove somebody from this position and
send it to this
other one and bring the other one from there and put there.
Yes.
There is no new person, no young ones that are brought in. What do you call that?
Okay.
That is a way to keep Cameroon stagnant.
Correct.
And as long as it is stagnant,
no progress.
No progress, and Cameroonians suffer.
Okay, Professor, let's take Mr. Tamfu for want of time. Mr. Tamfu, you are of the opinion as well that this has an impact. I want to find out from you, positive or negative?
Yes, it's a negative impact.
Still,
because if we should evaluate the activities of the National Assembly ever since they came into place, the National Assembly and the Senate, because the Senate came into place in 2013.
Yes.
If we should evaluate from 2013 up till now, what have they done? What problem have they solved? What type of laws have they put in place? Are the laws beneficiary to Cameroon to grow, to the growth of Cameroon? No. What type of activities have they carried out that are concrete that we can enlist and see? There's none. Okay. 3 years after the creation of the Senate, we entered into the Anglophone crisis, which later on became a civil war, and nothing has been said about it at the level of the Senate. So I don't think that their impact is positive. It's negative, because when you look like at the National Assembly, you realize that somebody like Kamer, who has been re-elected in the National Assembly, has been the president of that assembly for almost 30 years now, because it's there since 1990. 31 years. Yes. It's there since 29.
He's 29 years.
29 years as president of the National Assembly without anybody shaking him. Then I was 2 years old. Look at my age today. I wrote him in the primary school as the president of the National Assembly. My children are reading him today as the president of the National Assembly.
Yes.
Why we were being told in school that we are the Cameroon of tomorrow.
So where is
the tomorrow coming? Is it when I must have died?
Okay.
So I am saying that if these guys are there and they are doing nothing, better those houses should be closed and let them stop spending taxpayers' money for nothing, because they are doing nothing to us. They should stop proving to the world that there's democracy in Cameroon, whereas there's nothing.
Okay, thank you, Tamfu Jones. Prof, less than 5 seconds before we go, for want of time, if you were to tell these young Cameroonians, should they be discouraged by what they have in our political circle in Cameroon?
Nothing lasts forever.
Correct.
Time is a solution to many things. So I don't think that any Cameroonian should be discouraged.
All right.
We have to be able to hold on and walk on.
We have to hold on and work on. Thank you, gentlemen, for being there. For want of time, we would have loved to take forward the discussion, but then the discussion continues in our Facebook page, DBS Television Officiel. You have the discussion continue. That is all we had time for today's edition of Viewpoint. Immediately after this, Cynthia Ngwemo is coming up with the news in the English language. Until we meet again, have a blessed evening and goodbye.